Victor Parsons sat at his oak desk in the quiet study of their modest home in the sleepy town of Ashford, England. The afternoon sun filtered through the curtains, casting dappled light over his pile of history essays. He adjusted his tortoiseshell glasses and reached for a red pen, ready to mark another paper. The clock on the mantelpiece glowed 3:47 p.m. Emma, his 13-year-old daughter, should have been back from football practice by now. His phone buzzed sharply. Victor answered, his voice calm. "Hello?" Kendra, his wife, came through, breathless and panicked. "There's been an accident. Emma's in hospital." The papers scattered as Victor sprang from his chair, heart pounding. 20 minutes later, he was racing through the sterile, echoing corridors of Ashford General Hospital. His wife sat in the waiting room, mascara streaked down her cheeks, clutching a crumpled tissue like a lifeline. "She was crossing the road by the village green after practice," Kendra whispered. "Some lad in a flashy sports car ran the red light. Did at least 50, I reckon. Hit her and just drove off. A witness got the number plate." Victor's jaw clenched. 15 years of teaching history had taught him patience, but beneath that calm was something else. An old, buried instinct. He'd left behind a shadowy past when he chose the classroom over covert operations, but now those skills stirred awake. A woman in surgical scrubs appeared, Dr. Lillian Meadows, her hair pulled back into a no-nonsense bun, eyes sharp but kind. "Mr. and Mrs. Parsons, Emma's stable. Broken ribs, concussion, some internal bleeding we've managed to control. She's lucky, it could have been much worse." Relief washed over Victor, but it was cold and quickly replaced by a simmering fury. "When can we see her?" "She's sedated for the night," Dr. Meadows said gently. "You can visit in the morning." As they walked to the car park, a tall, thin man with weary eyes approached. Detective Jerry Dixon wore a rumpled trench coat and an expression as tired as the rain-soaked streets outside. "Mr. Parsons, I wanted to update you. The car belongs to Kyle Sutton, son of Gordon Sutton, the local magnate who owns half the town, including the council." Kendra's voice cracked. "The lawyer's already trying to bury this." Dixon's sigh was heavy. "You know, this isn't the first time Kyle's been in trouble. Drunk driving, assault charges, his father's untouchable in this town. We're hitting a brick wall." Victor's mind raced. He took a deep breath and dialed a number he hadn't used in years. "Nate Kemp here. Nathaniel, it's Victor Parsons." "Well, I'll be damned. Thought you'd gone quiet. I need a favor. Gordon Sutton's untouchable, but I'm about to remind him what happens when you mess with the wrong family." As the rain battered the windows, Victor watched over Emma's sleeping form, tubes and wires connecting her to machines that beeped rhythmically. His daughter's lucky charm, a leather bracelet he'd given her on her birthday, remained untouched on her wrist. Tomorrow would bring answers, or more questions. But one thing was certain. The quiet life of a history teacher in Ashford was about to change forever. Morning light spilled softly into Emma's hospital room, casting a gentle glow over the pale walls. Emma Parsons lay awake, her green eyes bright despite the bruises that traced the left side of her face like a dark watercolor. Her auburn hair was tousled, a few strands escaping from beneath the crisp white hospital blanket. She reached out, her small hand trembling slightly, and grasped her father's calloused fingers. "Dad," she whispered, voice fragile but determined. "What happened?" "The light, the noise, then nothing." Victor squeezed her hand gently, his eyes warm beneath the heavy weight of exhaustion. "You were on your way home from football practice. Car ran the red light and hit you. But you're safe now, love. And we're going to make sure the person responsible answers for what they did." Emma glanced down at her hospital gown, the remnants of her football kit long removed, but on her wrist the worn leather bracelet, a token from her father, remained. "Will they catch him?" she asked, hope flickering in her voice. Victor's smile was tender but resolute. "I promise you, they will be midday." The thin crackle of Victor's phone broke the fragile calm. Detective Dixon's voice was low, tinged with frustration. "I've just heard from the Crown Prosecution Service. They're not pressing charges. They say there's not enough evidence. Without Kyle Sutton confessing or new proof, this case is dead in the water." Victor's tone was eerily calm, a stark contrast to the storm inside him. "Thank you for trying, detective. We'll find another way." That afternoon, Victor found himself standing in the gleaming lobby of Sutton Industries, a towering glass monolith dominating Ashford's modest skyline. The marble floors gleamed coldly under the harsh lighting, and the air smelled faintly of expensive cologne and power. Behind a massive mahogany desk sat Beverly Chambers, Gordon Sutton's executive assistant. She was impeccably dressed in a tailored charcoal suit, her auburn hair pulled into a tight chignon that revealed the elegant curve of her neck. A silver pendant glinted at her throat, subtle but undeniably expensive. "I need to see Mr. Sutton," Victor said, voice steady. Beverly's practiced smile was thin. "Do you have an appointment, Mr. Parsons?" "Victor Parsons. This is about his son Kyle and my daughter Emma." Her smile faltered. She tapped a few keys, whispered into her phone, then nodded. "Mr. Sutton will see you now." The executive suite occupied the entire top floor, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of Ashford's quaint rooftops and winding streets. Gordon Sutton stood behind a massive desk, tall and broad-shouldered, silver hair slicked back meticulously. His tailored navy suit hugged a frame that had clearly been maintained through years of tennis matches and business battles. His piercing blue eyes held a cold, sharp edge, like a blade wrapped in silk. Mr. Parsons, he began without standing. "I understand you're upset about your daughter's accident." Victor's eyes didn't waver. "Your son nearly killed a child and fled the scene." Gordon waved a hand dismissively. "Allegedly. Boys make mistakes. Accidents happen." "This wasn't an accident," Victor said quietly, stepping closer. "It was criminal negligence. And you've already made it clear no charges will stick." Gordon rose, his voice hardening. "My son has diplomatic immunity through my overseas business ties. Even if charges were filed, they wouldn't hold. I own Judge Cherry. He'll see to it." Victor's lips curled into a cold smile. "Then you have 10 minutes to call the police and have Kyle turn himself in." Laughter, sharp and mocking, filled the room. "Or what? You'll sue me? File a complaint? I've crushed men twice your size for less." Victor glanced at his watch. 9 minutes and 40 seconds. Before security could react, Victor turned on his heel, voice calm but lethal. "You'll be hearing from me soon." I end the elevator. His mind raced. First, he needed every scrap of dirt on Sutton. He pulled out his phone and dialed Nate's number. "Nate, I need everything on Gordon Sutton, financials, dealings, personal affairs. And fast." "Victor." Nate's voice was low and serious. "You're about to stir a hornet's nest." Victor smiled grimly. "I'm counting on it." That evening, Victor sat alone in his dimly lit study, the soft glow of his laptop illuminating his focused face. Around him, the room was a mix of the familiar and the unexpected. Shelves lined with history books and faded maps, but also encrypted drives and locked briefcases hinting at a life far removed from a simple schoolteacher. Dressed in a crisp white shirt rolled up at the sleeves, paired with dark chinos and polished brown brogues that caught the low light just so, Victor exuded the quiet confidence of a man used to operating in shadows. On his wrist, a silver watch caught the glint, understated but precise, much like its owner. His fingers danced over the keyboard, pulling up financial records, offshore accounts, and shell companies linked to Sutton Industries. The web of corruption was vast, tangled like the roots of an ancient oak, and Victor traced each thread carefully. The phone buzzed. Nate's voice came through, grim and urgent. "Victor, Sutton's worse than we thought. On paper, everything looks pristine, but behind it, there are shell companies, offshore accounts, and contracts, arms deals mostly. Nothing illegal on paper, but gray as a London fog." Victor frowned, leaning back in his chair. And his personal life? Divorced twice, both wives silenced with hefty settlements. Kyle's the spoiled heir. Drunk driving, assault, rumors that the tabloids don't dare print. And his brother Eugene runs the legal side. Former prosecutor. Twice as slippery as Gordon. Victor's eyes narrowed. Sounds like a family of vipers. After hanging up, Victor switched to a secure line, dialing a number that had been dormant for years. The voice on the other end was cautious but unmistakably familiar. Judge Cherry, this is Victor Parsons. I believe you know why I'm calling. A nervous chuckle. Mr. Parsons, I'm afraid I don't follow. 48 hours ago, my daughter was nearly killed by your favorite defendant's son. Today, Gordon Sutton bragged he owns you. I've got recordings, Judge. Loans forgiven right before charges dismissed. I'm giving you 24 hours to recuse yourself on health grounds. Otherwise, the public hears everything. Silence stretched. Then, a shaky voice. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Victor's voice dropped cold as the Thames on a foggy night. There won't be. He hung up and immediately called Detective Dixon. Jerry, hypothetically, if new evidence surfaced, say security footage showing Kyle Sutton behind the wheel, would you reopen the case? Dixon's voice brightened. Absolutely. But we've checked city cameras. Nothing. Private bank security cameras. Not under Sutton's control. Footage, photos of Kyle's damaged car. A witness ready to testify his father tried to destroy evidence. Can you get it? A pause. If you can deliver that, Jerry, the case is back on. Victor's smile was thin but victorious. Expect it on your desk by 9 tomorrow. As he shut down his laptop, a quiet thrill coursed through him. The game had begun, and Gordon Sutton had no idea he was now playing against a grandmaster. The morning sun cast long shadows across the marble floors of Sutton Industries as Gordon Sutton sipped his espresso. The bitter taste a poor match for the sour news invading his sleek office. His assistant, Beverly Chambers, breezed in, her usually composed face now pale and drawn, a rare crack in her polished exterior. Mr. Sutton, she began in a clipped tone. Judge Cherry announced his immediate retirement, citing health reasons. Gordon's perfectly tailored navy suit felt suddenly tight. Health reasons? He was fine yesterday. There's more. Detective Dixon arrived with a warrant to inspect Kyle's car. Gordon's eyes narrowed, his jaw tightening. Impossible. Cherry assured me this case was closed. Warrants from Judge Faith Pierce. Beverly's voice dropped. She's not one of ours. Fury flashed across Gordon's face. He grabbed his phone, fingers tight around it like a vice. Kyle, answer. Do not speak to anyone. His next call was to his brother, Eugene, who arrived within the hour, carrying a thick dossier that seemed to weigh as heavily on him as the news inside. Victor Parsons isn't just some suburban teacher, Eugene said grimly. He spent 12 years with the Defense Intelligence Agency, classified ops, extraction, psychological warfare. Gordon's confident facade cracked. You're saying the man we threatened yesterday is a trained operative? Eugene nodded. And he's using those skills to dismantle us. Before Gordon could respond, Beverly burst in, eyes wide. The FBI is here. They want to discuss your government contracts. Gordon's knuckles whitened. That's impossible. Those contracts are sealed. They have documents, financial records, even recorded conversations from your office. A cold dread settled over the room. Gordon's phone buzzed. A call from an unknown number. Victor Parsons. The voice was steady, unyielding. You had 10 minutes to turn your son in. You chose to laugh. Now the reckoning begins. Gordon's voice cracked with desperation. What do you want? Kyle turns himself in. Full confession. No deals. The line went dead. Behind the scenes, Victor's operation moved with precision. Cyber experts hacked every corner of the Sutton empire. Financial crime specialists peeled back layers of deceit. The house of cards began to wobble, and Gordon Sutton was powerless to stop it. His empire, built on money and fear, was crumbling one calculated move at a time. Kyle Sutton nursed his fourth whiskey in the dim back booth of Murphy's Tavern, a grimy dive tucked away on the outskirts of Ashford's industrial quarter. The flickering neon sign outside cast an erratic blue glow across his pale face, highlighting the dark circles under his bloodshot eyes. His once pristine designer shirt was rumpled, untucked, and stained faintly with sweat. 17 missed calls blinked on his cracked phone screen, all from his father. But Kyle wasn't ready to face Gordon's fury or the consequences. A quiet shuffle interrupted the bar's murmurs. Kyle looked up, startled to see a middle-aged man with streaks of silver in his dark hair and sharp, calculating eyes settle across from him. Kyle Sutton, the man said smoothly. I'm here because I know what really happened 2 nights ago. Kyle's fingers tightened around his glass. You don't know anything. The man leaned in, voice dropping to a near whisper. Cocaine in your system. The fact you were at Vince Castro's place on 5th Street minutes before the crash. You ran because you were scared. Kyle paled. How? Let's say I have my ways. Name's Al Woodard. Lawyer. Kyle's laugh was bitter. My dad's got lawyers. Plenty of them.
Alex Mirquez.
Your dad's empire is collapsing. FBI raids, frozen accounts, congressional probes. He's got bigger problems than cleaning up your mess. Sliding a business card across the sticky table. Al continued, you can turn yourself in tonight, cooperate fully, and face reduced charges. Or wait for the police to find you, and they will. Kyle's mind raced. Reduced charges? Vehicular assault with cooperation credit. 18 months, eligible for parole in 9. Kyle swallowed hard. My dad'll never allow it. Al's eyes hardened. Your father's protection is an illusion. Only you can save yourself now. He opened a worn briefcase, pulling out papers, legal documents, confession forms, agreements. Kyle stared, torn between fear and relief. Who are you people? We're what happens when someone with true power chooses justice over corruption. Miles away, in a cluttered storage unit on Industrial Boulevard, Eugene Sutton ran a shaky hand through his thinning hair. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Check the news. On a small TV, the headline screamed, CEO's son surrenders in hit-and-run case. Eugene's face drained of color. Find him, Gordon ordered, voice cracking with desperation. Use every resource left. But the truth was clear. Their empire was unraveling, thread by thread, and the Sutton brothers were running out of time.